Good evening and happy Sunday to everyone. It is such a fantastic day and thanks for joining us. Human child is unfinished product of nature. It is only human child that requires nurturing and caring for first 2 years, and then it starts learning about the world. First 2 years, it is usually subconscious programming. We observe nature around us and we learn. Then we become 2 or 3, we start gaining power of language. We start observing our environment. Our parents, they start teaching us. And there starts the phase of indirect learning. In that indirect learning, we learn about the world, how others see the world. It is our parents, teachers, family members who are giving us their wisdom. And they start painting a picture of the world for us, the way they see the world, and they have learned from their ancestors. And then comes a very important phase, teenage. It is that phase when we start going out and learning about the world from our own experiences. And that's a big shift in learning. Our operating system goes 2, 3 versions upgraded. And that's that phenomenal life phase of being a teenager. Especially in modern time when we have so much of information, access to data, and awareness level is very high. It is amazing to see how our teenagers are learning and experiencing the world and creating a view of their world, which sometimes happen to be very different than the view that we, the X generation or Y generation had. I'm calling the teenagers of today as Gen Z. And I have 5 of the brightest minds that we have in Bangalore. And they are with me today. And through those 5 bright minds and their point of view, we are going to delve into not only these 5 very smart brains, but their colleagues, their peer group. And we are trying to get a window into what's happening there.
My name's Advik, and I'm in class 11th. Gifts I have possessed is my athletic capabilities. I have been a good athlete since I was born. I have been in my school teams and all that. Another attribute about my personality, I would say so, is I'm very optimistic in nature.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Abhishek Biradar. I'm a grade 12 student. I'm also an entrepreneur and a theatre actor. And I would say my main strengths are my curiosity, my affinity for knowledge, and my never giving up spirit.
So, good evening, everyone. My strengths do lie in adaptability, understanding people and their core values, and having a strong opinion on the things that I do believe in.
Hi, my name is Kushi and I'm in ninth grade. I think my strengths right now are that I love learning new stuff and challenging myself to do more than what I'm doing right now. And what I enjoy doing is I'm a singer-songwriter, so I love music. And I also am a photographer, so I love capturing the world in different ways that people can't see. And I'm currently learning about investment and business, so I'm really interested in that too.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Yash, and I am 16. I am by passion. I'm a writer, and I would say my strengths is to navigate through life in a very smooth way.
Well, who am I? My strengths, I would like to say, first off, would be debating. Although my parents don't consider that a strength all that much. I've represented my school in various debates and Model United Nations inside Bangalore and outside the Bangalore circuit. Another one of my strengths would be the ability to remain calm in very tough situations or emotionally breaking situations. So I technically tend to have a lot of control over my emotions.
What a diverse group of youngsters we have, what a panel we have. We have the songwriter, we have the writer, we have the fencer, we have a philosopher, we have, what a bouquet. And see, when we start looking at our talents, we are so diverse, we are unique, and that's, I think, our USP, that we all are unique. And I'm hoping, and I know you all would be very proud of things that are special about you, strengths that you carry. and you're not shy of utilizing those strengths. So thank you for your introductions, and so amazing to hear about you folks. So my question to all of you guys, and I'm pretty sure all of us who are in the parents category now, we are keen to understand one thing. What do you find interesting? What inspires you to listen and learn?
The learning for me, it comes because I'm curious to experience life as it is, and to always enhance my level of experiencing.
You use that very strong word, the kid inside us or the curiosity in us dies. Why does that happen?
The curiosity dies because we often get distracted with all of these new responsibilities, with these new activities, which most of us, we don't even know what we are doing. Curiosity always comes in when there is something more to learn. If you limit the learning, then the curiosity will die eventually.
Wonderful. Thanks, Yash. So if I summarize it, first you said that one, we need to understand why we are doing what we are doing and how it is meaningful probably in my life. And I hope the grown-ups ones, if you're an educator or a parent and you're listening to this, I hope you hear this out. And second thing, Yash, what you said, and I'm hearing you are saying curiosity remains alive when we get challenged and we feel that I'm learning something new. If that element of newness, learning is not there, then curiosity becomes a little dull and it fades away. Is that right? Yeah.
So I would say one of the major portents of actually of learning, of creativity, is imagination, and encouraging that imagination.
I think very important thing you said, Advait. It is about sparking imagination. The moment we use those words, let's imagine, and a whole world of things, something sparks in your mind, and neurons go firing, and listen. Many things happen in mind. So wonderful.
I feel like, especially when we're in a classroom, if the class is more interactive, like not only the teacher teaching us, but we also speak and we're engaged and ask questions, that makes your mind more attentive because you can be called upon anytime and it's more fun because you get to hear different people's perspectives and answers. And another thing that I feel that the Indian education system lacks is they don't teach us life skills as much as they're supposed to. For example, how to manage money and how to, buy a car or buy a house, the loans. They don't teach us any of those things.
Give me a reason to not play GTA 5 or to not watch a video on YouTube and listen to something that's being taught in class. Give me a reason for that. That is something that's really missing. And even the stuff that's taught to us in the education system, as Khushi highlighted upon, the education system makes subjects harder by the grade, whereas it should make it more useful by the grade. I would rather watch Ryan Serhant video teaching how to actually sell real estate, something that I'm interested in, or I can learn about how blockchain works, how Ethereum works. Like, that's the kind of stuff that motivates us, stuff that actually is important, stuff that's gonna help us in the long term.
The problem with currently in my peer group and the domain that they seek is that why is that in any problem I come to, it just comes back to studying. Why does it always come back to why am I not studying? Why am I always on my phone? What I want to say is learning is not keeping a book in front of you and just reading what it is. I can look at a bill and learn how a bill is made. I can look at the light and search on YouTube how the light works.
My way of learning things is by teaching people. And sometimes it's just in front of an imaginary audience. Humans didn't come this far because we satisfied our necessities. We came this far because we were explorers, pioneers, and we wanted to accomplish things. And we built on that. And we built on generations based on knowledge. They didn't build upon it because of necessity.
Thanks for being so open and sharing. I hope everybody is learning. I'm definitely learning a lot from whatever you guys are sharing. So the heart of the question is, do you guys believe there's something called generation gap? How do you experience that gap in your life?
Definitely, there is unfortunately a generation gap existing due to a very sudden evolution in a lot of different areas, which we are more exposed to than our previous generations or our parents. It becomes very hard for them, for the parents or for the previous generations also, to accept a lot of different things which they have never seen in their life. what I feel is most of the times this generation gap exists between people when they fail to communicate properly, or they fail to have completeness in their communication.
I'm hearing from you is that we as adults have to be more open to at least understanding why you guys are expressing certain behavior, because it might be because of these social norms are changing in the environment that you live in.
Yeah, I think another thing, like, parents should be open to talking about sex in general. That should be an open topic, because a lot of parents like don't want to. They want to like totally be like, okay, sex is forbidden, it's taboo, it's wrong. So that kind of consensus shouldn't be there anymore. I feel parents should be no more open. Parents should be open to discussing that. Yes.
I
Yeah, that's all.
agree that we should be open to discussing. I also have
Yeah.
responsibility to also share that there are
Yeah.
certain timelines in our life cycle. Certain things are more appropriate behavior at certain age groups.
Uh-huh.
So that I think also should be kept in mind. So as parents also should think of being more open. Kids, because you folks have access to information and data that might not be age appropriate at certain time. Now because of internet, that access to data has become very easy. It has become available to everybody at all the time, right? And age appropriate behavior is, I think, also required as we've become open, both sides. I'm talking about parents also and talking about you guys also, right? Okay,
Yeah.
moving on to the conversation. Abhishek, what do you think is generation gap for you? How do you experience that in your life and the life around you?
Okay, so basically, like, I agree. Definitely, there's a generation gap, and I feel that it's a huge gap, because the amount of changes, the kind of changes we've had in the past 2 or 3 decades, they've been massive. There's internet, there's mobile phones, there's radiation technology, everything coming up. So the gap has been increased, like it's increasing faster. That's what I feel. Just to give an example, like now that I'm doing entrepreneurship, a lot of people around me, and including my parents actually, they're like, what are you doing? You're just a 12th grader. Why don't you just study, finish your 12th, and then you can do whatever you want? But honestly, I feel that like a lot of people should actually take up entrepreneurship at this age. Not just that, a lot of parents usually don't be so open to accepting things that weren't right in their time. Well, I just feel that right and wrong are just like two sides of the same coin, and the only thing separating them is perspective. If anything is right for someone else's perspective, anything is wrong from someone else's perspective. Everything that matters, if generation gap is a thing, it's because of the differences in ideologies. And the reason we get ideologies is because of our perspective of this world, is because of the spectacle through which we see this world.
Definitely, I agree that there's a generational gap, but personally, I don't experience that much with my parents because we do have a mutual understanding and they do understand my perspective and I understand theirs. But from what I've seen outside my environment in my house, is that sometimes elders don't let us speak and don't give us the opportunity to speak just because they think we're younger than them and just because they, like Abhishek said, they don't think we're mature enough to, say something that is going against what they're saying. Even if it's something completely illogical as they're saying, if we try to talk back, they feel like it's disrespectful. Don't get me wrong, sometimes children are disrespectful, but I feel like they should give us a chance to at least speak our minds to see if what we say makes sense or not.
I do think there is a generation gap, but my point of view is, can you really blame them? I don't think you can, because I get that mentality needs to keep going forward, it needs to advance, but we are not taking into consideration that it is hard for them as well. Expanding on Abhishek's thought that they don't respect entrepreneurship. Well, that's just because they don't want you to fail. And that is not such a wrong idea, in my opinion. They have seen people take the road, and that is wrong to assume that you will fail. It is wrong to assume that, but it is not inhuman. They want to see the best for you, and that is a very clear cut opinion that everyone has. But I agree that they need to keep advancing. But we are also not interested in making them advance, aren't we? We label them as generation gap, but what are we doing to address it? So my point of view is, we cannot blame everyone on the generation gap. It is fault on both the sides, and both the sides need to work on it.
I would like to bring something that is close to home, to many people. When your mom and dad sit and talk to you, you say ki, Mummy, Papa have space neither. You're not giving me enough space. And when they don't talk to you, your excuse is you don't love me enough. You don't spend enough time with me. And from the parent side, sometimes they're gone for weeks, years, months. And communication is an everyday thing. It's not like, one day you just come out of nowhere and be like, bro, I'm trying to communicate with you here. What are you asking for space? That's not how it works. It's not about you being there to talk to me one day and not being there to talk to me for the other 10 days, right? I talk to my friends every day, and that is why I can maintain a communication with them. I can remain updated with them, and that's what usually ends up happening.
So, Chayan, you delve into solution finding. You gave some ideas of how do we bridge. You talked about communication. You talked about your views on morality, and so let's just figure out now, as we are concluding our conversation, let's go around and see what are your ideas of bridging this generation gap. What changes you see should be done to bridge that generation gap for you to flourish to your best?
One thing I think that should be done is trust should be developed from both the sides. That is so, and like Cham said, you can't just get up one day and be like, okay, I'm going to trust you. Trust takes time and you have to build on it. So, trust from both the parent side and the children's side should be developed. And from the parent side, I feel like what my parents have done is they haven't given us rules, but they've given us responsibilities. So, for example, if you tell someone not to do this specifically, they're more tempted or inclined to do that. So, instead, if you're given the responsibility and you're told the consequences of what's going to happen if you do that, is so much better than just putting rules which don't make sense and which is illogical. And from the children's side, I think, like like you said, a lot of us have technology and stuff like that, which makes us think that we have to compete with our parents, which is not right. So we got to understand where they're coming from and their perspective. And they don't want anything that's bad for us. They want what's best for us. So sometimes just listening with an open mind might help. That's what I think.
Trust is something that's very important. So just having the faith in your children that if they're doing something, that if they are like venturing into a new space, then just have faith in them. That's all they need. They don't need like you're telling them what to do and how to do. All they need is for you to have faith in them. That's the only thing that they ask for. And as far as my opinion on bridging the gap goes, well, the only way that a gap can be bridged between these two generations is if there is a more open conversation. If they start conversing more. In life, you don't get time, you have to make time.
It's better to take the first step. It is always the hardest part, but taking the first step will actually help you in so many ways. Just asking a question, asking how their day went. It's because we somehow always assume they will never understand us. Not always true. It's because they also sometimes get where you're coming from, even though it's a very different time era. Sometimes the mindsets do converge in one place. Now, what I want the previous generation to do is not disregarding our feelings, our opinions, just to a mere child. Because whenever you're growing, you can have opinions that can change worlds, change your lives, and change everything you've been thinking about.
Some of my friends have told me this, that whenever they tell that, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that, they just tell, no, you can't do it. That's it. There is no further argument. There is no further reasoning. There is nothing. That comes in because a part of them feels that they own us. I would say this is not the correct mentality. The basic human nature is freedom. Everyone wants to be free. In simple terms, the more restriction always creates obsession. The more you tell someone not to do something, they are more likely to do that. So there is a way to communicate as well.
Wonderful. I think point well taken. So thanks for that, Yash. Advik, what's your thought? How do we bridge this generation gap?
I would say they say the first classroom is in the house. that's where the child first learns. So rather than only focusing on what information we process, and we should also help on building a morality amongst that child. Keep being a good human being first. Keep being helping that values, create values of teamship, of compassion and kindness towards each other. That is the major, I think you should emphasize on. Every parent should do that. I would say between the parent and the child, the that communication will be very easy and rapid. So I would say from my generation is that try to understand their perspective, because sometimes when they do things, they do it in an emotional state. They are like angered or raged, so sometimes they might take it out on you or it might go. And on that perspective, we have to be more understanding and learn to receive it. And we should be, even though if it's necessary, we also need to support them, because even then they are human beings and they will make mistakes. They are our parents in the end and we love them. So, and when they are emotional and when they are little angry or something, we should try to be calm and try to help them.
Thank you very much, Advik. And one of the things that Advik brought out, I want all the parents to just do a little bit of reflection on that today. And I hope after that, the kids also would do that reflection. I think, in summary, how much time are we spending teaching our kids art of empathy and compassion? Because if compassion becomes one of the tools in our mental toolbox, I think many of the things that we discussed so far, I believe can be bridged, because we will be seeing things not from our perspective only, from the other perspective as well, and willing to take that step which is required to bridge the gap. So I hope all of us will take this. I'm taking this away from this conversation, that many of the things that we discussed, in the end, if we have the trust, love, and compassion, these gaps will start getting bridged.
Maturity isn't knowing that eating chocolate is equal to bad. Maturity is facing the consequence for eating chocolate. The idea of we as kids are mature, sure, we know what is right and what is wrong, but that doesn't mean we are mature because we are inexperienced. We know that this will lead to this, but we do not know what that consequence, what it feels like to bear that consequence personally. And that is something our parents have experienced over 50 years of their life or 40 years of their life, depending on their age. I'm not a parent yet, but if I were, I would want him to be the best of the best. I would want him to walk into a room and I'd want him to be the greatest among everyone. I'd want him to be a champion of society. And I think that's what every parent, inevitably feels for us.
It was such a amazing learning session for me. And I'm pretty sure that it is also an amazing learning session for all others who are watching this stream. I want to tell you one thing, because I think this will help us create one element of compassion, because it cannot be force created. I just want you to reflect on it. All of you teenagers listening. When you become a parent, you will realize, and that only you can understand with experience. No matter of philosophy, reading, listening will make that experience come alive in you. When you become a parent, you realize that a parent's love for a child is the only relationship which is truly selfless. Even my love for my parents is not selfless. It has a little bit of business in it. The day they smile, the day they are nice to me, they bring ice cream and I felt good. The day they little bit, scolded me for not doing something right, I became angry. But when I had my daughter, I have a 9-year-old daughter, her name is Joy. When I had my daughter, and since then on, I suddenly realized what it means to have a selfless relation. Irrespective of what she did, I loved her. It was not conditional. You do certain things, then only I will love you. I think somewhere as you grow up, probably parents also change their expectations. From that unconditional, selfless love, it becomes a little bit of conditional and behavior oriented, probably. But that's what you see. That's not how it is within. Like many of you expressed that within the heart, they only want good for you. It is just that the way of expression, expectation, and environment has changed, and we need to all tune with it. I want to leave all of us with a story to reflect on. In a locksmith's shop, a hammer, a key, and a lock they are lying, and hammer is having a conversation with the key. Hammer says to the key, I have so much of metal in me, and I try with my full force, but I cannot open this lock. And you, a little tiny key, hardly any metal in you, and so easily you can open this lock. How is that possible? And the key smiles and says, see, you are trying to use brute force on this lock, and hence the lock is all with its might is resisting that brute force. And I, a little key on the other side, I have figured out how to tickle heart of this lock at the right places. I go in, tickle this lock's heart at the right places, and the lock by itself opens up. Now, I'm pretty sure when all of you are listening to this story, you started thinking of people in your life and in your environment whom you can map to hammer and a key. But question that I want to ask all of you, what do people think about you? Do they put you in the key category or hammer category? Can you think of few thoughts today, few incidences in your life when being a key would have been much more effective than being a hammer? And I hope you will make sure that you will not be a hammer when a key can be a much better option to open the lock. With those thoughts, I thank all of you who have come here and shared your thoughts and helped us understand and take a window, a peek into a teenager's mind through your point of view. Thanks to all the parents who also approved of having us this session. We'll keep bringing more such sessions for all of you. If you have any questions or thoughts, please do write email. My email address is arunb@arunb.com. Please make sure that you subscribe this YouTube channel, because we will keep bringing such conversations and different perspective for you. Once again, the heroes of today are here, those who shared their opinion in a larger interest of that their peers, their friends, their families will be able to engineer happiness in their life. I wish all of you a very happy, healthy, bright, and successful career. Thank you very much, guys, and wish you all the best.